back, and when I start this next part on Freemasonry, before I dig back in and continue on where I left off in chapter 2, I would like to share a scripture with you. So, grab your King James Bibles, because that's the one that God uses, and let's turn to John 18:20. The Gospel of John 18:20. And this is what Jesus has to say. Okay, so if you do belong to any kind of a secret society, you may want to consider this. Let's go up to verse 19. Let's start there. It says, the high priest then asked Jesus of his disciples and of his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whither the Jews always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. Okay? So Jesus is telling him he has never said anything in secret. Okay? And if you really are a Christian, you understand that everything that you know is to be shared with others. It's not a secret. This thing wasn't done in a corner somewhere. Okay? It is no secret. So if you belong to this club that is claiming any type of religion, okay, and yes, like I said, I don't care what you say. This is a religious order. Whether you choose to admit that or not, then you might want to consider that Jesus said he didn't do nothing in secret. So why do you have secrets? Well, you know what? It's often said, anything that has to be done in secret, you know, there's a problem with it. People don't do secret things in secret when they're good. Okay? Next thing I'd like to do, or the next place that I would like to go, is back to where we had left off. We were reading from bibliotycopolades.net, I believe. I think it's .net. Anyway, I said it in my last one. Yes, it's .net. Okay, and we were reading about Freemasons, and then the very last thing that we talked about, I said that there was a Freemasonic structure, okay? You'll see pyramids, you can go online, you can look at images, there's several different ones, but there is a structure. Now, supposedly, because they use that pyramid, is able to show each brick on some slides. I don't have that one here. But on each brick that makes up an entire pyramid, it will have different groups of Freemason societies, okay? All the little groups that make up the one big group. I also would like to mention real quick that they also do this for children, okay? It's a well-known fact that Bill Clinton was demolay, and demolay is the boys, okay? This is the one that the boys join. And here's a picture of them. Also, here is a picture of their symbolism. So, you know, this thing's big. I mean, now again, I mean, the lower 3 levels, I guess it's a family thing, where the wife goes into Eastern Star, the husband, he's in Freemasonry, and then the son goes into Demolay. And I think they have one for girls too. I don't know that right off the top of my head. So anyway, I want to get back to this article. We had talked about this structure, and anyway, now I'm getting to the part. They had said that the last thing that I had read in this article was the process from a 1st to a 33rd degree Mason could take 20, 30 10, 20, 30 years or more. It's not about time. You know, it's not like, well, you have to be this for 5 years until you get to this level. No, it's about who they choose to move up the ranks quicker. You know, you have to be initiated into degrees by those above you. They have to look at you and think, wow, that's a good candidate, you know. When my husband and I, when we left the church, we have a neighborhood where we are surrounded by Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not kidding you. My Jehovah's Witness neighbor next door thought, because my husband and I don't do holidays, that, wow, they're a wonderful candidate for Jehovah's Witness. So we've been getting these things on our gate. Like, actually, she's known that for a while. I've been getting them on my gate for a while. And then when we left the church, I had like Mormons around the block from me. I'm like, oh wow, they'd be wonderful candidates. They even came over and visited and brought a pie with them. I mean, they thought, man, these guys perfect. You know, we can get them in. Well, you know, not all invitations are good. All right. I mean, I'm flattered that they thought enough of us to want us to join them, but really, you know, they know where we stand, and if they didn't before, they do now. You know, my husband, he's not he's pleasant, you know, he's a fun, sociable guy, but he doesn't really hold back anything. He'll let you know, you know. That's probably part of the reason why we're churchless. So, anyway, we were saying that it could take 10, 20, 30 years or whatever to move up into degrees, okay? But rest assured, by the time you get to 33rd degree, you're already knowing who the great architect is in Freemasonry. I don't know how true this is, but they say it's when you get to 33rd degree that you get into the Illuminati. And by there, I believe there's something like 99 degrees total. So once you get to 33rd degree and you start working your way up from there, you are full-blown Illuminati. The percentage is so small. I mean, when you look at, according to this article, 97% of Freemasons stay at the bottom 3 degrees, as opposed to what? Only 3% work their way up the ranks. Well, I believe that when they get to 33rd degree, it's a small percent of that percent that move themselves into Illuminati or are brought up into the Illuminati. Okay? And they believe that they own your body, too. When you're a Freemason, oh, boy. I mean, they bury them with the apron. And they get this apron thing from Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Because in the King James, it was translated an apron that they wore when they realized their nakedness. And so they have an apron, and it looks like this. That is a Freemason apron, okay? And you see pictures of George Washington all day long in his apron when you go online and look for this. So, anyway, I'm going to continue on. I really am this time. Okay, then by issuing...
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
You ever look at music that you've written and look back at it and say, whoa, that surprised me?
I used to. I don't do that anymore. I don't know how I got to write those songs.
What do you mean you don't know how?
Well, those early songs were like almost magically written. Darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon, a handmade blade, a child's balloon.
Eclipses both the sun and moon. To understand, you knew too soon. There is no sense in trying.
This Dylan classic, It's All Right, Ma, was written in 1964.
Mouthpiece, the hollow horn, plays wasted words, proves to warn that he not busy being born, is busy dying.
Well, try to sit down and write something like that. There's a magic to that, and it's not Siegfried and Roy kind of magic. You know, it's a different kind of a penetrating magic. And you know, I did it. I did it at one time.
You don't think you can do it today?
Mm-mm.
Does that disappoint you?
Well, you can't do something forever, and I did it once, and I can do other things now, but I can't do that.
Continuing on that article that I was reading about this, it says, then by issuing lords, knights, and vassals of various degrees along the way to do their bidding, the royals essentially control all facets of this worldwide brotherhood. You ever wonder why people like, from the Beatles, Paul McCartney, how he gets knighted by the Queen, and ooh, what a big deal this is. What do you think's going on? Elton John going and getting knighted by the Queen. Oh, who is this woman, you know? But look, that's what's going on. That's what these knightings are about. This is all secret society. That's why those people are where they are, and you are where you are, okay? You know, they're not the useless eaters. Oh, no, they have made all these attributions to, you know, they've done all these things for society, and now they're being knighted, okay, behind their secret society groups. The whole bunch of them, okay? Look at Hollywood, and we're getting into that. We're going to get into some famous Freemasons. I think a few of them might surprise you. Then again, maybe not. Anyway, they get these different, you know, like I said, knights and lords and this and that. They're advancing in degrees is all that is. Well, they showed the public, ooh, wow, look at, you know, Paul McCartney, he's been knighted. Knighted to what? Do you even know what they're doing? Absolutely, this is what they're doing. This is secret society accolades being played out in front of your face. Okay? You don't know what they had to do to get there. I mean, did they sell their soul to Satan? Many of them have come right out and told you. Heck, I think even, you know, what's his name? Can't think of his name. Bob Dylan, okay? He'll tell you right online. He tells you where his soul went. To the man downstairs, okay? He said he wanted to be famous. That's why he did it. He says it real candidly right in an interview. Actually, I think I will play that right now. Let's do that. So there you have it, see? He knows exactly what he did. You've got all these other people that say that they've done this, okay? Behind the scenes, they're all part of secret society. These people are not independent. This isn't just some guy that was sitting in his bedroom one night and decided he was going to pray to the devil and become a famous person. No, these guys are initiated. They belong in secret society behind the scenes. If they didn't, they wouldn't be advancing anywhere, okay? They would be stuck where they're at as a nobody all their lives, okay? That's the reality of it. Okay, so reading on, here is a quote, and this quote comes from Manly P. Hall that they're showing you in this particular rating. It says, the initiated brother realizes that his so-called symbols and rituals are merely blinds, fabricated by the wise to perpetuate ideas incomprehensible to the average individual. Why? Because you're an idiot. Okay. He realizes that few Masons of today know or appreciate the mystic meaning concealed within these rituals. Okay, that was a quote, Manly P. Hall. I could believe that, because when you look at all these illuminists that are in the music industry and all that, these guys would never be there if they were not initiated in, okay? They wouldn't be anybody, not at all. The invitation, this is another quote, the invitation, only 33rd degree, is the highest publicly known degree. Operative word is publicly. The vast majority of members look upon their affiliation with Freemasonry as a little different from joining the Lions Club, the Optimists, or the Chamber of Commerce. And from their standpoint, this is true. Even Masonic literature makes clear that only those initiates who process beyond 33rd degree status are educated in the group's true goals and secrets. This hierarchy is readily admitted by Masonic authors. So you don't have to go far to find that one, that little nugget of truth. Okay, quote, there has always existed an external, elementary, popular doctrine which has served for the instruction. The masses who are insufficiently prepared for deeper teaching, wrote Mason Wilmhurst, there has been an interior advanced doctrine, a more secret knowledge, which has been reserved for riper minds, and into which only proficient and properly prepared candidates who voluntarily sought to participate in it were initiated. Okay, and this was put in a book by Jim Marrs called The Rule of Secrecy. Okay? Jim Marrs does a lot of really good work on this stuff. The highest known formal degree of Masonry is the 33rd degree. This title has been held by many world leaders and important names in modern history. The following U.S. presidents are and were known to be Masons, many of them 33rd degree. Washington, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Jackson, Polk, Buchanan, Johnson, Garfield, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Harding, Roosevelt, Truman, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Clinton, and both Bushes. As the following people are or were also Masons, most of them 33rd degree. Here's a few names, some of which I think I'm going to, am I? Nah. Anyway, here's some of the names. How about Buzz Aldrin? Okay. How about John Glenn? Yasser Arafat? Tony Blair? John Wilkes Booth? Oh boy, even John Wilkes Booth. James Cameron? Winston Churchill? Walt Disney? Bob Dole? Supposed to be Christian. Frederick Engel? Newt Gingrich? Mikhail Gorbachev? Al Gore? Billy Graham. Billy Graham, there is so much more. Richard Holbrooke, J. Edgar Hoover, Colonel Mandel House, Saddam Hussein, Burl Ives, Jesse James, Jesse Jackson. No surprise there because he sold out. He's Jesse Jackson, Jive Jesse. You know why he's really there? He was bought and paid for a long time ago. His job is to keep the race card going, because if he can stir up everybody and pit black man against white man, his job is done. His job is to keep that going. Yes, Al Sharpton. They keep these people so they keep this stuff going. They're bought and they're paid for. You know why? Because when you got people divided, they're not looking at the man behind the Iron Curtain. They don't even know there's a guy behind the Iron Curtain. They're so busy fighting each other that they will never unite and ever come against the darkness that's really controlling them. One of these days, I'm going to, probably soon, I'm going to do one on the Wizard of Oz, and I'm going to show you the esoteric meaning of that entire thing. I'm telling you, nothing is as it seems. Anyway, back to just Jive Jesse. Okay, that's his role in his, he's Illuminati, but that's his role. He's bought and paid for. Here we go. Here's another one. Henry Kissinger, the first one that employed Obama. Vladimir Lenin, interesting name. Robert McNamara. Karl Marx. Yes, Karl Marx. Marxism. Lord Alfred Milner. Benjamin Netanyahu. Yeah, for everybody that believes that Israel is the Holy Land full of God-fearing Jewish people that have a special salvation. Yes, Netanyahu, definitely. He's part of that. Albert Pike, my book Morals of a Dog, or Morals and Dogma, sorry. Prince Philip. Colin Powell, sorry. I'm being sarcastic here. Cecil Rhodes, the Rhodes Foundation. Rhodes Scholar, get it? James Rothschild. Charles Taze Russell, Jehovah's Witnesses. Joseph Stalin. Strom Thurmond. Leon Trotsky. When I hear that word Trotsky, I get some visuals in my mind. But when I hear the name Trotsky, I think back to that movie, Something World. Oh gosh, I can't remember. It was a 1960s movie, A Better World, or oh gosh, I can't think of that movie. Oh my gosh, I'm having like one of them senior moments. Anyway, this movie, if I'll think of it. When I think of it, I'll come back and bring it up in this series. In fact, what was it called? A Better World? A Something World. I can't think of the name of it. Every single name in that movie is an Illuminati person's name in that movie. Even their first names. One guy's name is Trotsky. You got all these people. There's a Rothschild in there. Okay, there's, all these different names. A Brave New World. That's it. If you ever get a chance, you could probably watch it free on YouTube, called A Brave New World. And that one there, oh my gosh, there's a lot of truth in it. All right, I'll take a side road just for a minute. In A Brave New World, everybody in this world is on a drug called Soma. S-O-M-A, Soma. That's really what it's called. It's like an antidepressant that dumbs them down. Mind you, this was written in the 60s. This is definitely an Illuminati movie. And so anyway, these people take this every single day, this Soma drug, to keep them dumbed down in society. And there's a lot of other things going on. Like, if you're born through a natural birth process, you are like a reject of society. Just picture the homeless people living in a cave somewhere amongst their own tribe. They're rejects of society because they're not on that advanced bandwagon. Okay? It's kind of a real, I wouldn't say low budget, but a real simple movie. You got to remember, it's from the 60s. So anyway, this drug Soma they keep taking is like this major antidepressant. Ta-da! Look at today's world, antidepressants. You know how the doctors push them on everybody? Honestly, most people I know are on an antidepressant of some form or other. Most women I know are. And I just don't understand it. I try to tell them, but nobody listens. And but anyway, there is a drug company, and there is an antidepressant by Soma. Don't tell me that is coincidence. They were telling you this in the 60s. This is where we were headed. Okay? But anyway, that name Trotsky just comes to mind because, that was one of the names of one of the characters in Brave New World. Anyway, if you get a chance to watch it, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. And, that's if I think of it, I'll see if I can link it down below where you can watch it. It is a regular long movie, and another weird thing in that movie I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to get into this later, not in this series, but I am going to talk about mind control, okay, and what they've done, because that's a lot of the people you see in the industry, whether it be movies, a lot of people that are in the music industry, they're under mind control. And going aside from that, in this movie, Brave New World, you have betas in the movie. Betas. This is in the 1960s. They call themselves betas. Okay? And then there's other groups of people, women in the movie. Well, betas in mind control are sex slaves, okay? And then there's different programming things that are used in mind control that's been going on all this time. And in that movie, Brave New World, they use some of those titles for different groups of women in that movie, different classifications. I'm telling you, this stuff was laid out right there, as it was in Wizard of Oz, which I will definitely be getting into. But anyway, when I think of that name Trotsky, I think of that. So anyway, the next one, Paul Warburg. No surprise there. And H.G. Wells. Why do you think he was able to write a lot of the stuff that he did? This man was in the know. He definitely was in the know. Now, there's other names that I could add to this list. There's Joseph Smith of Mormonism. He was definitely 33rd degree Mason, okay? And there's several more. Pat Robertson is another one that comes to mind. Okay, but I'm going to reserve a picture of him when we get to some of the gestures and things. Okay. I guess right now, maybe I will show you some pictures of some supposed Freemasons. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. Now we're going to look at a quote out of a book called Codex Magica. I have this book. I've got it in my one of my bathrooms by Tex Mars. Tex Mars. And he has done a lot of research on this. He's written a lot of good stuff. He's written a lot about things that are going on as far as what the real truth is behind Israel. He has a lot of really good stuff. And so he has a quote here in this article on Freemasonry. He says, when we examine the historical world, the historical records of the world's most despicable mass murderers and revolutionaries, we find that almost all of them were members of Freemasonry and other secret societies of the Illuminati. Robespierre was a Freemason. Weishaupt was a Freemason. I think everybody knows Weishaupt was. Okay, Napoleon was a Freemasonry. You ever see the picture of Napoleon? He's got his hand tucked in the jacket. I'll show you it right here, because we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, Lenin was a Freemason. Stalin was a Freemason. Mussolini was a Freemason. If I'm not mistaken, was Mussolini the guy? He was the guy that used to say that if there was a God, then I dare him right now to strike me dead. See, I'm still here. There's no God. I believe Mussolini did that. You know, I used to hear Pastor David J. Meyer talk about this concept that you know, it's like an ant standing on a railroad track waiting for the train to come, and he says, if there really is a train on this track, I dare it to run me over right now. See, I'm still here, you know. But the thing is, if that ant waits around long enough, eventually that train's coming. It was the same thing for Mussolini, because I think he died a horrific death. Okay, Truman and Roosevelt were Freemasons. Ariel Sharon is a Freemason. And Bill Clinton is a Freemason. Yes, and he was raised in Demolay. Hey, here's a funny picture of Bill Clinton and Hillary right here. Fidel Castro is a Freemason. Okay, so this came out of Tex Mars' book, Codex Magica. Tex Mars, he has a website online. He's got some really interesting books. This guy is definitely a good researcher. I think Alex Jones has had him do a lot of work. When he did the Bohemian Grove, Secrets of the Bohemian Grove, I believe Tex Mars did some stuff in some of the excerpts in that as well, bringing out some of the facts behind Molech, and then we'll get into that in a later time. Okay, scores of celebrities were and are Freemasons. Again, no surprise there. As well as Duke Ellington. Oh wow, see? Not just the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncés of today. Duke Ellington. Okay? Count Basie, here we go. Another musician. Nat King Cole. Rudyard Kipling. I kind of knew that. I went to a funeral. I mean, of all places. There's a funeral home out here where it's just this real creepy looking building, okay? And I mean, it's got a lot of woodwork and architecture in it. Definitely a Freemason building. Pretty fancy, I might say, for a cemetery. And then on the outside, carved in stone, they got this whole thing by Rudyard Kipling. I knew exactly. I knew when I saw that thing that was a work of Freemasonry. Okay. Let's see. Harry Houdini. I told you Houdini was, you know. Plus he entities are what helped him do a lot of, well, all of his magic, you know. But they didn't come through the last time, did they? I guess he knows better now. Alexander Pope. Goethe, the poet. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sir Walter Scott, Jonathan Swift, Voltaire, Mark Twain. Mark Twain. Interesting. Oscar Wilde. W.C. Fields. Yes, even W.C. Fields. Clark Gable. Clark Gable. Arthur C. Clarke. Frank Holiday, Humphrey Bogart, Peter Sellers, Red Skeleton, Bob Hope. Oh, when I get into mind control, there's going to be a lot of stuff about Bob Hope in there. Abbott of Abbott and Costello, John Wayne, Richard Pryor, Roy Rogers. Here, look at his grave. That's a little piece of Freemasonry there. It's right on it. Will Rogers, Don Rickles, The Ringling Brothers, yes, the Ringling Brothers. All 7 brothers and their father were Masons. Paul Giamatti, Michael Richards, Sean Connery. I'm going to mention the 007 thing, but I'm going to wait till I get to that part. 007 has some significance to Freemasonry, which is why he was called 007. Let's see. George Clooney, no surprise. He spent an awful lot of time in the White House when Obama was in there. Hey, does anybody want to see, you know what? Let's add some humor to this. You know how everybody always said that somebody was as phony as a $3 bill? Well, I got a better one for you. How about this guy and how appropriate? Anyway, just a little bit of humor there. Will Smith. Why do you think he gets chosen for all these roles in these movies? I will say this, though. If you never saw this movie before, I Am Legend, you might want to watch that movie and then think about the locusts coming out of the pit in the book of Revelation. Okay? Just FYI. Jay-Z. Well, we can see that. He's always flashing Illuminati hand signals. And literally hundreds more household names in the music, movie industries have all been Freemasons. Since their member lists are not advertised or readily available for all to see, deciphering the extent of celebrity membership is often a game of watching careers, reading symbols, and hand signals. Okay? Yes, and we are going to get into some of that as we go along. Cecil B. DeMille, director of the very first Hollywood film and creative genius behind Paramount Pictures, was a Freemason. Jack Warner of Warner Brothers Studios Warner Brothers Studios, and Daryl Zanuck, co-founder of 20th Century Productions. Yes, that's why they are where they are. And Louis B. Mayer, Mayer, of MGM Movie Studios, were all Masons. Roland Macy of Macy's was a Mason. Dave Thomas of Wendy's, and even Colonel Sanders of KFC. Right here's a picture of him. King of Gillette or Gillette Razor Company. Ooh, here's another one I can think of off the top of my head. You know Arm & Hammer baking soda? Armand Hammer, right here. Yes. Everything's hidden. It's hidden in front of your face. Okay. And J.C. Penney's are and were Masons. Owners of J.C. Penney's. Sir Thomas Lipton of Lipton Iced Tea. All these names I'm mentioning, these are not Blue Lodge Masons, okay? These are way up there, okay? They are who they are because of where they are in Masonry. That's the point that's being made here. Frederick Maytag of Maytag Company. You know, your washing machines? Actually, I have a Maytag. Walter Chrysler of Chrysler Corporation. And William Dow of Dow Chemical Company. All Freemasons. Samuel Ervin Jr., who headed the Watergate Committee. Dan Beard, the founder of the Boy Scouts. Surprise! Jean Henry Dunant, founder of the Red Cross. I'm having a hard time trying to figure out, and no, I'm really not having a hard time. I was trying to be sarcastic here, but I couldn't think on my feet. The Red Cross. Look at the Knights Templar. Now look at the Red Cross. Wonder where he got that from. And Frederick Bartholdi, designer of the Statue of Liberty, were Masons. I'll tell you what, on that Statue of Liberty, Jonathan Kleck, go there. He can explain every single part of that Statue of Liberty and why that whore is standing in the New York Harbor. Okay? It's not what you think. Libertias, or Libertas, which is who she's supposed to be, is an exact replica of what they had over in France. It means the opposite of what you think. You think that she stands for liberty in this country, but that is not what it stands for. In fact, she stands for the very opposite. Okay? But you can go on over to John Kleck's channel, and he will be more than happy to show you. He has clips on that you can watch that are very informative. Okay? Here we go. The Freemasonic Ford name crosses the spectrum of politics. The name Ford, F-O-R-D. Business and media. Gerald Ford was 38th president. Before we go further, when it comes to mind control, there's going to be some stuff on John Ford you didn't know either. Okay. Henry Ford was inventor and CEO of the first gas car company. Ford. Ford is a big name to them. And Glenn Ford was a famous actor. It's all in the family. Bloodlines. Remember, we talk about bloodlines. Not in this, but we've talked about bloodlines when we were going through Genesis and how important bloodlines are and some of the lies behind bloodlines. Okay, Masons invented the gas-powered car, the Gatling gun, the guillotine. Gee, that's comforting, because I think they talk about guillotines in the book of Revelation. And the vaccine. Ooh. I got to do one on vaccines. And the atomic bomb, among other things. Of course. Of course. The Freemasonic monopoly. Okay, what I'm reading here comes from Mark Pinkham. And it's in a book called The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom. Yeah. I'm still reading this book, okay? I wish I had a lot of time to devote to reading. I wish I had more time. I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day. Okay. Anyway, this is from Mark Pinkham, The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom, I guess page 291. He says, quote, "The Freemasonic monopoly of government positions continued for at least the first 100 years of United States history." It's still going on today. According to a 1924 census, that was a long time ago, even in that year, the Senate had a membership which was 60% Freemason. You know, today, they all are. They all belong to some secret society. All of them do. All your government officials. Your Senate. I mean, come on. Both parties. And I know some of you out there, but Ron Paul wasn't, you know, and Rand Paul isn't. Guess what? Rand Paul also belongs to a secret society, and so does Ron Paul. Okay? They may not be out to help. They may not be on the same agenda, you know, as far as the New World Order goes. They may not be fully on that agenda, but they still belong to secret society. They could not hold those positions even at that level unless they were. Okay? Everybody belongs to something. The majority of the U.S. founding fathers, the Senate, and the presidents have been Freemasons. But those who were not usually have nothing good to say about the organization. Well, today they all are. I mean, don't think for a minute that even the current president, he's doing a lot of good things. I mean, honestly, he's doing a lot of good things. And yes, he's going to be the fall guy when the crap hits the fan in this country. Right now, this is going to be all-out brutality on the Christians. I'm telling you that right now. And he is going to be their scapegoat. But even he belongs to secret society. He's always doing the hand thing. There are so many pictures of him doing that. Here's one. See, he's always doing that hand thing. Okay? He's got it going on too. He's secret society. Just because they don't agree doesn't mean he's not part of it. He's hated right now. He definitely is hated right now. But it doesn't mean that he's not part of secret society. He is, just like everybody else is. He would not be where he is if they didn't put him there for a specific reason. And that's another thing, the system of voting. That's all fraud. Okay? I don't even believe the part about 25,000 dead people voting for Obama or Bush or whoever they say they voted for. I don't even believe that. I believe that they just put them there. Okay? They make you think that you got a choice because you're the sheep. You're dumb. You don't know any better. They make you think that there's a voting process. Let me ask you this. Really? I mean, if you really think you got a choice, did you really pick either candidate? This time, the time before that? No. They magically appear on your ballot. You get choice A or choice B, or you can throw your vote away on choice C. Your choice. It's a choice that's not a choice, okay? I mean, honestly, do you remember when Obama and what's his name were running, McCain? I mean, my goodness. What a choice there, huh? Look at McCain now, right? You see how well he's backing our Republican president? Okay, I'm not going to get mixed up in that because it ain't about Republican or Democrat. They're both on the same side. They're just on different sides of the same street. But they're okay. I guess you know what I'm saying. I don't subscribe that there is a difference between parties. But what I'm saying is if you really think you're voting and your vote is counting, let me ask you this. How did those candidates get chosen? You didn't choose them. You certainly didn't choose them. Somebody chose them for you. They told you could either have evil or you could have more evil, but they do not give you a choice. Okay? It's been like that forever. I know since I've been alive, it's been that way. Anyway, I'm going to go back and I'm going to continue reading here. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt myself. Okay, here is a quote, and this is U.S. President John Quincy Adams. Okay, out of Letters on Freemasonry, I think written in 1833. He says, I do conscientiously and sincerely believe that the order of Freemasonry, if not the greatest, is one of the greatest moral and political evils under which the Union is now laboring. Think about that for a minute. A conspiracy of the few against the equal rights of the many. Masonry ought forever to be abolished. It is wrong, essentially wrong. A seed of evil which can never produce any good. That is a quote from U.S. President John Quincy Adams. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Anyway, I had a thought of something, but then it just left me. So, I was going to add to that. About the few, I think it was about the few ruling the many, because that's really what's going on. You see it around you today. It is the few that are ruling the many. Then by U.S. President Millard Fillmore. Oh, I know what I was going to say about atoms. You know how you were taught, that about the war and about how we broke away from the British Crown and set everything up here in the U.S. And then supposedly how all these guys, including John Quincy Adams, okay, I think it was John Quincy. No, John Hancock, all those guys. The guys who signed the Declaration of Independence, okay, when they wrote books, okay, they would put on their books that there was a little insignia that they would put on their books, and now I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's also used in the judicial system now with the judges. Oh, there's a word. Anyway, it starts with an E. Anyway, they would put this on their books. When I think of it, I will add it on here. Anyway, that they would put this at the end of their books. Oh, shoot, I just had the name again. It starts with an E. Anyway, what this meant was that they were still, how do you call it? They were still Esquire. That's the word I'm thinking of. Like when they wrote these, when they would write their books, because every one of these early presidents, the ones that signed Declaration of Independence, wrote books, they would sign their name, and they would put Esquire at the end of their name. Okay? Esquire at that time, not today, but back then in the 1700s, Esquire meant that you still had respect for the king. Okay, the King of England, that you were still respectfully underneath him. Didn't break away from anything, but we're going to get into corporate America within this series. But anyway, they would sign Esquire at the end of their names, which is exactly what is used today with a different meaning. Now you see it next to a judge's name with a totally different meaning. But back then, it meant that you were respectful of the British Crown, of the King of the British Crown. That is what Esquire meant back then. Okay, just a little FYI. All right, now, U.S. President Millard Fillmore. He said, quote, "The Masonic fraternity tramples upon our rights, defeats the administration of justice, and bids defiance to every government which it cannot control." My goodness, if he said this back then, that's not what they taught us in school. They didn't teach us anything like that in school. They taught us that we were the benevolent ones. We're the good people. We do all the good stuff. Everybody's indebted to us. Okay, this was by U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant. He said, "All secret oath-bound political parties are dangerous to any nation, no matter how pure or how patriotic the motives and principles which first bring them together." So no matter what their motives are, they're still a danger. Once they're in, yeah. You know why? Because they answer to a higher authority. They ain't the man upstairs either. They answer to other the others within the pyramid. They answer to the higher ups. They're just the puppets. Okay, and then lastly, from Reverend John G. Stevens, an inquiry into the nature and tendency of speculative masonry. He says the institution of masonry ought to be abandoned as one capital of much evil, and incapable of producing any good which might not be effected by safe and open means. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall. Okay, Masonry was a state within a state, and that one day Masons would overthrow the democratic government of the United States and would crown one of their grand kings as ruler of this nation. Well, it seems to me they've already done that part of the plan. Okay? Look at the Democratic Party now. They remind me, it's so crazy today. It's almost like they chew off their right arm to spike their left. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous when you shoot yourself in the head in order to get your way. I mean, dead is dead. So, yeah, there's no soundness in any of it anymore. I mean, when you see people doing these protests, some of the crazy stuff. I had one lady going to the bathroom out there on the sidewalk or next to this pole thing in protest. You know, what point was she trying to prove defecating on something out there? These people have lost their minds. They've been given over to a reprobate mind, which the Bible does talk about. Now, before I go any further in here, I guess we're going to move on to the next part. We're going to move on to the next part in the next video. I know this video is going to be a while. I hope that you bear with me. I hope this is at least interesting. And anyway, I will catch you over on the other side. Be blessed.